Well, good morning, folks, and welcome to another edition of Friday Morning Live. Today's date is May 9th, 2025, and thanks for joining us today for this very exciting presentation by our friend Carl Rockman with Citizens. But a couple housekeeping items just wanted to touch upon this morning before we bring Carl on live is every show this month, since it's the month of May leading up to hurricane season, we'll have a theme either forward or behind the scenes about hurricane preparedness. So each week we will bring you some guests or tips or some advice and resources that FAI has for preparing for hurricane season. So just keep that in mind each week. There is yours truly. Again, Dave Newell, thank you for being here this morning. And then the guest this morning will be Carl Rockman, Citizens VP of Agency and Market Services, Enterprise Operations. But before we jump into the presentation, a few other things, just hot off the press from the Colorado State Hurricane Prediction Modeling for 2025. If you've not seen it yet, I don't have the slide up here yet, so I'll just read it. Atlantic Basin predicted to have normal activity. 17 named storms they're predicting this year for the Atlantic season, 9 hurricanes, and 4 of those will develop into a major hurricane. So just keep that in mind. As we all know, the eastern and central Atlantic water temperatures are normal and anticipating above average probability of major hurricanes making landfall. So as each week, we will talk more about that as we dust off our hurricane preparedness manual, we dust off our phone tree, we dust off procedures and things that we do this time of year to prepare for the hurricane season in our agencies. So just keep that in mind as we walk through the month of May. Just a reminder, web-based learning, just get on the website, fai.com, under the education tab, and you'll see all the classes that are coming up over the next few weeks. General reminder, the education member benefit that's available to all agency members and all your staff to be able to take these classes as a member benefit. As long as you're in good standing with FAI, you can log in and take these. We run all 4 of these once a month. So just a reminder, just take advantage of that member benefit when you have that opportunity. And then the rest of the month, May 16th, going to have our friends from E&O talking about hurricane preparedness and some of the nuances that come along with your Swiss Re policy and some reminders, so on and so forth, as we all prepare for hurricane season. The 23rd, I know that's the holiday week, but hopefully you can join us. We're going to have 2 special guests. One of them is Paul Davis, our newest partner with IMS and FMS here at FAIA. So we're excited to have Paul Davis join us and tell us about how they prepare for the upcoming hurricane season. And then rounding out that hour will be Heritage Insurance, another partner on the platform, talking about how, as a company, they prepare for the upcoming hurricane seasons and some recommendations for agents and certainly policyholders going forward. And then rounding out the month, our friend BG Murphy. Laura has a conflict, so BG will be on with us. And he will be doing a post-legislative update. I'm sure you've read many of the blogs that BG has posted, including the one just recently. And it looks like we may have a special guest or 2 coming on that show to talk about the legislative season and some of the laws that were passed and certainly waiting for signature by the governor. So that's the month of May. Hopefully you can join each one. Again, the common theme will be around hurricane preparedness. Just a reminder, folks, if you've not registered, certainly highly recommend it. June 18th through the 20th down in Orlando. I will just again tell you it will be an extraordinary show again. And one thing to keep in mind we've never done this before, but we will actually have classes, breakout sessions on Wednesday morning. We normally start those Wednesday afternoon at 1 o'clock, but this year we're going to do a couple classes before lunch. So if you're in the local area, or you can get over there first thing, I think it's 10 o'clock on Wednesday morning, certainly recommend that. Couple great topics. I blogged about it a week or so ago. It was in the AC, but that is something that if you want to take advantage of, getting a couple hours before the Thursday exhibit hall opens, and of course Friday after general session. So keep that in mind. Register. The early bird special, or the thing that we do for the early registrations, will be up on Monday, this coming Monday. So you want to take advantage of that early bird registration fees that we offer this time of year. Certainly go in after this call or during this call and go ahead and register you and your team to join us at convention this year. Exhibit hall will be packed. We have sold out the exhibit hall. And just if you haven't seen it, we will have a live giraffe in the hall this year. So just a little teaser, as they say. And then last thing, if you missed this episode or you want to go back and see previous episodes, it's on the education tab under Friday Morning Live. We record these sessions, and so you can go back and listen to some information in case you missed something or you want to share it with one of your team members. So that is what I have to say. We're going to bring our friend Carl Rockman in right now. Carl, I'm going to, let's see, that's Carl right there. I'm going to unmute you, and then I'm going to make you a presenter. Carl, are you still with us? Okay, Carl's loading up. Carl, we lose you? No, you're here.
Are you there?
There you go. There you go. Now we hear you loud and clear, Mr. Rockman.
Good morning. Yeah.
All right. You good to go?
Good morning, Dave. Everything good on your end?
Oh, everything's good. I can see your screen. If any of you
on Dave. Thanks again for having
cannot
us.
see Carl's screen, let us know, but I can see it, so it appears that you all can see it. Just type in your question pane that you can see Carl's screen. And there's our speaker today.
And you hear me loud and clear, okay, Dave?
Loud and clear, yes, sir.
Right.
All right,
okay,
you ready
great.
to kick it off?
Dave, thanks for having us. I'm ready to kick it off. So thanks for having us.
Yeah, Angie said we can hear you very loudly. So good. Go ahead.
Great. Super. Okay, so thanks again for having us. I'm Carl Rockman, Vice President of Agency and Market Services. Acquainted with a lot of you, but for those of you that might be joining for the first time, my accountability at Citizens is I'm in charge of everything to do with the agent experience. So all your communication, your education, administration of your agreements, compliance for all 12,000 plus Citizens appointed agents. And that number's actually changed since this slide was created, okay? I'm also in charge of the depopulation and clearinghouse programs, and we're going to have some conversation around those programs this morning. Really can't have a session with Citizens without really talking about those two very important programs and how they impact policyholders and agents as well. And then prior to Citizens, for those of you who don't know me, I had a 25-year career with Allstate in Florida, New York, and New England, and then back to Florida, and live locally in Tampa. And look forward to seeing a lot of you at the upcoming convention, Dave. As you know, we'll have a presence there, and look forward to interacting with all the great FAI agents at convention. And my email and contact number are down below, available. I'll work my own mail, and call me anytime if you guys have anything on your mind. But if you do have something on your mind about Citizens, particularly, I want to make sure that everyone here is aware that we have a great network of agency field managers that are available. These folks are really part of our agency support ecosystem. Okay, a lot of you have already built relationships with our agency field manager network. These are folks that you would traditionally see enrolled as marketing reps with other carriers. We obviously aren't trying to market at Citizens. We're not trying to grow, obviously. But we do want to make sure that you have advocates as agents, that you have folks that you can talk to and relate to that understand sales and agency operations. And these folks are really your advocates, along with Dave and Robert Norberg, who represent us on our art. These folks are really available to any citizens appointed agent who needs a little help understanding our policies, our procedures, or just needs some advocacy on an issue. So if you haven't reached out to any of these folks before, please do so at any level, at any time. They're standing by to take your calls, and we want to make sure that you're getting the support you need on these very, very important issues that involve citizens. Okay. Quick update here, Dave, on our agent counts. We always like to inform everybody on where we stand currently with producers. 13,281 agents right now appointed with citizens as of March. That's up 749. Licensed customer reps, 4,300 licensed customer reps. Dave, we have seen a little bit of an increase since we put on our multi-factor authentication. I think a lot of folks were, obviously decided to go ahead and appoint on the system in order to have access, which was very important to us. And we're
instead of share, Carl.
Well, Dave, let's just say that people needed access. So we wanted to make sure that that folks had access and that we have appropriate security controls. Obviously, the size and importance of citizens, we want to make sure that we're doing all we can in that information privacy space. And I think our agents want us there too, Dave. Make sure we're mutually aligned and making sure that information is secure and appropriately controlled. But again, I think that the takeaway here, Dave, is the large amount of agents that Citizens has. This is a lot to manage. We get great support from your association, and we're very, very aligned and committed to make sure the competitive landscape is policed, and all these agents have the support that they need from us. Okay. Quick overview. Where are we headed at Citizens? Where are we going? We always like to show this slide at our board meetings and in other interactions with agents. Left-hand axis, as of January of 2022, we stood at 776,000 policies. Okay, that was January of 2022. And you can see the trend line. And everyone remembers those times. Hard markets, lack of availability, some insolvencies. You can see we're up escalator up until September of 2023. Okay, then something starts to happen, right? A little bit of depopulation, a little bit of a market turn. And Dave, when we look at this, and I'd be interested in your perspective, there was a pretty significant change in the state of Florida in the legislative space. There was some AOB and Senate Bill 2A reforms that started to kick in around that time. And when I look at this slide, I see confidence. Okay, I see that Citizens trend line dripping down to January of 2024, and then a little uptick. Okay, all the way to September of 2024, and then what happens? Down elevator. Okay.
Yep.
When we look at this slide, we're seeing the impact of 2A because of why? It's opening capacity in the marketplace. That open capacity is reflected in carriers coming forward to Citizens for depopulation. But more importantly, Dave, I say that September 24 number is also a reflection of direct business being written. Our new business, which I'm going to cover in a minute, our new business is collapsing, which is again another strong indication of open availability and open markets and carrier confidence in the reforms that took place, okay, to give them confidence that they can have predictable earnings going forward. And boy, is that a good sign for the market. And
Carl, you mentioned it. You hit it on the head. The legislative, tort reform, all that surrounds new capacity, existing capacity opening back up. Zip codes have now been expanded. New entrants have come into the marketplace. We know of a couple recently, a couple more that are looking at market access through FAIA or other means. And so this is a good time, but they all point to the legislative reforms being the driving force behind opening up or bringing new capital to Florida. So those are great signs. You're right.
Yeah, and Dave, I think maybe you can comment too. I think we're getting through the session, but I think some of those reforms were under siege, if you will. What I'm hearing is we've come out okay, I think, in this session. Would you concur with that?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's like anything else, and I know BG's on the call, and we'll have him on in a few weeks to kind of digest some of the session. But absolutely, it's always interesting of trying to undo some of the good legislation that's been passed in the previous years, and certainly tort reform and attorney fee reform is one thing that will certainly, I'm sure, likely continue over the next few years to try to soften some of that legislation. And this year the session was successful in that regard of not allowing some of those reforms to slide backwards.
Yeah. And then to finish out the thought here in terms of where we're forecasting, I'll draw your attention to the numbers on the far right. Our best case scenario right now, not best case, but kind of worst case scenario, given our analysis of the market and trends, I think we'll end up on November of 25 at 770,000 policies. Okay, boy, is that a long journey? 770 on November of 25, we're already back to January 2022 levels almost. What a journey, up and down. But if things break our way, okay, and they could continue to break our way, positive environment, light storm season, we think the trend line could take us down to 635. Okay, that is an amazing amount of progress at Citizens to move that business to the private market where it can thrive, move that capital to the private market where it can thrive. And we thank every agent out there who's helping us accomplish that. Okay, but we're looking at that range right now, Dave, of 770 to 635. We're very committed to work towards that with a positive customer experience and a positive agent experience always at the forefront of our thoughts. But for those of you that know the Citizens model, it's not about being a million policies. Citizens model is there to help in tight times for temporary reasons and temporary timelines. And these trend lines are all very, very positive for the market. We're very bullish right now on the market and what we're seeing in these trends, particularly with Citizens growth, both retention down and new business down. Okay.
Yeah, it's interesting. You talk about bullish in the marketplace, but basically most would say, oh, that's because of growth, right? You're because of decrease in not only policy count, but exposure, not only to Citizens, but every Citizens public person in the state of Florida to starve off any assessment that could potentially fall upon them after an event. Right. So, yeah.
Yeah, so right. And we thank the agents that have been really helping us with that assessment message. And the whole thing is we don't want to put the burden on the taxpayer of Florida for assessments. We want the market to thrive. And the necessary reforms and things have been beneficial. I'll be brief on this, but we've got a lot of business owners that like to look at numbers, and I want to make sure we share these real significant numbers with you. I'll just draw your attention to this slide. This is personal lines new business. So this is just homeowners, no commercial. Look at the column on the far left. December 31 of 2023, our monthly new business policy count, we were taking in about 30,000 policies a month, 30,000 policies a month. Look at the last 2 months of 2025, 18,000, 19,000. Our new business is half and still trending downward. Okay, that again is a healthy sign of a healthy marketplace. We'll talk about the new clearinghouse and the impact it may be having, but I think a lot of this is attributed to availability and agents having other solutions, particularly at new business, other than Citizens. Again, another bullish sign. And in commercial, we may have some commercial agents on the line. I'll draw your attention to those December 23, 24 numbers on the far left. New business counts, 479, 438, 352. A lot of you remember the little bit of a meltdown we had in commercial with E&S rates going up and availability. Boy, has that pivoted quickly. Look at our trends now on commercial starting this year, 62, 61. I mean, this just tells you where the commercial market is headed. If Citizens is not seeing the intake, and Dave, we're also seeing a little bit on the runoff side on commercial as agents are remarketing these commercial books. And we couldn't be more thankful for agents taking advantage of that opportunity, particularly in commercial. Okay?
Yeah, I sent you one this week to look at, right, Carl?
Absolutely, absolutely. So again, we appreciate all the help here. It's really about moving the business to the private market, and we'll talk a little bit more about Depop and Clearinghouse in a minute on those two topics. Okay, just a real quick look at the road ahead. So when you come to these webinars, we always like to give you a forecast of what Citizens is going to be presenting to you in the next couple of quarters. Let me just recap a bit. To recap, in April, we did do new agent and agency agreements. And Dave, thank you and your association for your leadership in helping us craft and look at those agreements. We thought they were necessary to tune up a bit in some areas that we wanted to be a little bit more proactive in. The good news, Dave, is that we've gotten close to 87% of the agents already executed and signed. Okay,
say that
with
again,
13,000. We've got close to 87% of the agents have executed those agreements and signed them back. Okay, it's a big task to execute over 13,000 agreements. Okay, but we do appreciate the attention and time and detail the agents did on those agreements. And if you have questions on your agreements, you can talk to your agency field manager or get with me directly. We do need every agency on an agent on those new agreements by June 10th, and we'll be sending reminders and ticklers to folks that need to pay attention to that. But Dave, we're feeling very good about the adoption of the new agreements and ready to move on to a new world underneath them. Okay.
And again, Carl, just a reminder, folks, FAI had the opportunity to meet with Carl and the team, the legal team, some of the other folks that are involved in this process. So Laura, BG, and others were involved in reviewing these agreements, making recommendations. Feedback from the ART was very important here, where Robert Norberg serves on behalf of FAI. So these are the agreements. Please, if you do have questions, reach out, like Carl said. But June 10th is kind of the D-Day to finalize those for you and your agency.
Great. I'll talk a little bit more in detail, Dave, on the outage in a minute, but I do want to remind the agents that we're going to have a Policy Center outage on Friday the 17th. Hold that. I've got a little more detail for you. You'll also see throughout this road ahead slide, depopulation, depopulation, depopulation. It is not slowing down. Again, I know it's an operational disruption in your agency, but it is necessary, okay? And we appreciate the support that everyone's giving us, but it's also a reflection of the healthy market. Carriers are approaching us in the office to participate, and we couldn't be more pleased. But the other big thing, if everyone asks me, hey, Carl, what's the next big thing that Citizens is going to introduce to us? I would draw your attention to September, EasyLinks Renewal Clearinghouse. Okay, we are very committed to finalize the new clearinghouse platform with a renewal capability where we will take your personal lines renewals, run them through the clearinghouse powered by EasyLinks, and render decisions. Okay, a lot of communication and education will be forthcoming on that, but we want to make sure that the platform is completely optimized, and that'll be coming in September. And a couple of other general road ahead, Dave: flood, flood, flood. Everyone's remembering now that flood's required on Citizens policies 500,000 coverage A and above. Next year it's 400, and the year after that, every Citizens policy will need a flood. So agency owners out there, as you're looking at your Citizens book, and you go to a world in 18 months where everyone's going to need a flood policy, great for the consumer, but it also changes that price equation a little bit in terms of a potential private market placement. Okay, so more communication to come on flood, but again, a public policy decision, Dave, right? Necessary for folks to have that full protection. Boy, did it serve us well on the West Coast for those Citizens customers that needed it and were required to get it when those storms came in. But we want to remind everybody that flood is still a requirement. And then rates. Our due rate increase is effective June 1st. You should already be feeling the rate change. Generally increases everywhere except for some selected areas of Dade County. You should start feeling that already on renewal and on your new business that's future effective to 6/1. Citizens applied for rates, but we did not get all the rate that we applied for, but we did take as much rate as we could that was approved. Okay, it's important that Citizens maintain that rate level, try to bring our rates up a bit. And Dave, another big factoid that I'll mention in terms of rates, recently it was published 18 carriers last year filed for rate decreases and 30 kept their rates neutral in homeowner. Again, a positive sign. If carriers are filing decreases and holding rates, that is a good sign of their confidence in the marketplace. But Citizens rates are important. We need to keep up, and we also need to make sure we're closer competitively to those Florida domestic markets. Hopefully everyone can kind of meet in the middle and we get to a nice place for the consumers and for the agents. Okay. Any questions, Dave, on the road ahead there? Or anything on your
no, again, just a reminder, if you have questions throughout this presentation, post them in your question pane and we'll get to them. If we can't get them during the live broadcast, then we'll certainly get you offline. But any questions you have. But right now, Carl, I think we're in good shape.
Super. Okay, I'll be brief here because I've covered it already, but a little more detail. Agent and agency agreements, we're executing those through DocuSign. They're due June 10th. And Dave, as I commented earlier, look at the amount of completed already. Very pleased with the agent's detail to attention here, and obviously ability to execute that so we can all be in good order and be governed by those new agreements on the 10th of June.
Carl, this came up in our shop overnight because of all these different fishing expeditions and excursions that people are constantly doing to try to get into our systems. Have you had any feedback from some that say they never saw the agreement because it got caught up into something? So what is the address that this document is coming from for agents on this call, to just in case they've not seen it yet? And we're unaware that this was happening.
I will ask my team to send me a text so I can read that out directly, but it should be coming. It should look like it's coming from a DocuSign email box. I believe it's also branded as coming from Citizens Agent Administration. Okay. Perhaps one of my team can kind of maybe send you a text on that, Dave.
Yep. Just send me a text and I'll read it over. Right. Yep. Okay.
But so, here's the call.
It happens, right, Carl? We all deal with this stuff depending on our filters, depending on our security levels. Some of this stuff gets blocked as hard as we,
Perfect.
Yep.
Absolutely. And I just say to any agent or agency principal out there, if you haven't seen this, then just reach out to me, reach out to your field manager, reach out to Dave, just connect with us. You might have missed it. We can get it to you right away. So this is also a little reminder to anybody out there that said, hey, I didn't see that.
Yeah.
Let's just connect and get you the documents so you can review them and get us in good order or ask us questions.
Because it does happen. There's no doubt. We all deal with
absolutely it happens.
No matter
absolutely
how often we do business with somebody, it seems like the next email or the next document gets caught up. So thanks for the reminder.
Your reminder. Okay. And speaking of reminders, this is probably, if you take anything away from today, please take this away. We're going to take Policy Center down starting Thursday, May 15th at 6 p.m. So my Panhandle guys, I got you till 5 o'clock. All right. But we're going to take Policy Center down from Thursday at 6 o'clock through Sunday, May 18th. Now you will have view only. So Dave, agents will be able to go into Policy Center late Thursday and all day Friday and over the weekend, and they'll be able to view Citizens policies. So if a customer has a question, what's my bill, what's my coverage, you'll be able to see the policy record. Okay, it'll be visible, but you won't be able to do changes. You won't be able to bind in Policy Center, which is very important. Okay, but you will be able to at least answer those phone calls or emails that might come in. Okay. The big reason we're doing this, Dave, is really we're taking Policy Center, we're lifting it into a cloud environment. That's going to add some stability to the system, allow us to increase capacity on the system should we need it during hurricanes and storms. But again, the big message here is no fundamental changes to how Policy Center works. So agents should not expect when they come in Monday morning to see new screens and new workflows or anything like that. The colors are going to change, and there's one or two things in the activity world, nothing dramatic that will change. But right now we're getting the word out. Please, no one be surprised on Friday if you can't do things. We do have a backdate program that we've introduced that we've communicated. Okay, so if you need an effective date of Friday, we'll have the ability for you to apply for that a couple days after we get back into business on Monday, because we do know how important it is to protect those dates where you couldn't bind on Friday. And we've built that in. But this is necessary, Dave. It's a big system. We need to get it lifted and shifted. And then obviously, work on some of the improvements that the agents have been asking for. We've kind of had those on pause for a bit until we can get this thing lifted. But then we should be back into regular order helping in that space.
Well, thanks for bringing up the backdating, because certainly many on these calls are constantly in flux with closing dates, right, Carl? And
yes.
Certainly that date's not going to go away. People are closing these loans and these refis and all that stuff. So that's good information to know. Folks, if you've not seen it, if you've not been on the portal, please go and see what that process is like for backdating. so you can deal with that leading up to next week.
Yeah, and Dave, the yellow banner that you see on the slide, that yellow box is actually in Policy Center now. So your staff, your teams that are in Policy Center,
They're
the citizens
that?
are seeing they're seeing that banner. So we're doing everything we can to put this right in people's faces, so they know and are variably. I know someone's going to call me Friday, hey, what happened? But we're doing our best to make sure that we're going to have a limited functionality on that Friday and over the weekend. But then our plan is to emerge strong Monday morning. We also have some agents, Dave, over the weekend, Robert Norbert being one, that's going to just go in over the weekend and make sure from an agent perspective, and we're rigorously testing it on our end. But we have a network of agents that will be logging in over the weekend to kind of make sure everything's running smoothly for our agents.
Okay. Hey, Carl, two questions, but they both surround payments. What about payments during this period of time?
Yeah. Payment will be our online payment system. What we'd like you to do is direct customers if they need to make a payment. The online payment system on our web portal will be available. So the one that's on Citizens FLA, that one will be up and running. Okay, so the customers can make payments through that. But the payment functionality in Policy Center won't be available. So direct your customers onto our public website to make a payment.
Okay.
Okay.
All right.
Okay. All right. Let's move on to the next thing. One other piece, Dave, too. We shifted the way we're communicating to agents about a month or so ago, maybe a month and a half ago. What we're doing, rather than just sending a random email, one topic, whenever we're kind of in the mood to do it, we're really consolidating our communication to agents, and we're sending out communication and news and awareness every Thursday. We call it the Agent Advisor. Okay. We like this idea because if we send you one communication once a week, we can kind of consolidate things and not, cause a lot of disruption if we need to send 3 or 4 or 5 things through the week. Hopefully we're not sending a bunch, but oftentimes we need to get to agents and communicate important things. So the bulletins that you're used to seeing, the training reminders you're used to seeing, we've really consolidated the citizens' news and experience in this advisor. So this will be the topical news that we need to send to you, but it also will have things and resources that our call center and our field managers have said, hey, agents have a lot of questions about this or that. Things that are new, like the new clearinghouse, things that might change in Policy Center once we come back to the cloud. We're using this as the vehicle. So my call to the agents on the line is, when you see the advisor, if you could spend a minute or tell your team and your managers that deal with citizens, take a look at this, take a cruise around it, engage. There's important information in here. We think, Dave, it's the right thing to do to kind of consolidate the citizen stuff so people can deal with it and then move on. But we're listening. Okay, we're listening to our agent roundtable and listening to you and the association on this platform. But we're very committed to it. We think it's effective. We've gotten good feedback on it. But I wanted to make sure the agents understood this is what we're going to be doing, and not sending an email that's topical just on one thing, on a random day of the week, if you know what I mean. So we're hoping, and then obviously we can link to different resources and things that we think are going to be important for agents to engage in. So just a quick commercial on that. Okay.
Yeah, no, I think that's been very good to have that. People can plan for it every Thursday. It's been consistent, and it's very informative. So I think that it makes a good change instead of having multiple bulletins come out on a weekly basis. So good job.
You got it. Okay, great. Okay, let's get to it. Let's talk about the clearinghouse. All right. We thank everybody for their support as we rolled out our new clearinghouse platform powered by EasyLinks. We've been at this, seems like close to a year. About a month and a half ago, we fully optimized the clearinghouse powered by EasyLinks. What does that mean? Fully optimized means that the clearinghouse is now determining eligibility at the point of sale mechanically. Okay, so when rates come back from carriers, the clearinghouse is calculating if any of those rates are within 20%, and it's blocking the agent from moving to Citizens if that happens. Okay, I don't want to make this a training class, Dave. I don't intend to go into a lot of, but I think this is an important topic for everyone, because if we're getting any questions around the new platform, it's in this space that I'm going to cover, and we call the space override. Okay, I want to acknowledge at the top of the call, right? One of the things with the new platform that I want everyone to understand is, on the old platform, Dave, the overwhelming feedback we got from the old clearinghouse was it took too long and there was too much information needed to get an initial decision. And we were very, very committed on the new platform to shorten that initial eligibility process. We wanted to make it a little faster and a little cleaner for everybody concerned. And I say we accomplished it. Okay, we did accomplish it with a smaller set of questions in EasyLinks to render a decision. But here's the key that I want everyone to understand and know that Citizens acknowledges this. In a lot of cases, you will get back from carriers prices that look like the customer's eligible, but you know in your heart as an agent, hey, they're not eligible, or more importantly, a price will come back that may not be based on credit. Okay, we know that. This override process is very important for agents to understand because those two things will continue to happen. You'll get a return back from carrier X. You know the customer has a bad water heater or a solar panel, but EasyLinks and Clearinghouse didn't ask you about that. But you know it's going to be rejected if you send it to the carrier. What do? You execute the override process. And then more importantly, if you bridge over to that carrier and they happen to run credit, customer's credit's a little hard, it goes up, you can send that to us and we can override and give you the ability to go to Citizens, okay? So that's the general piece, but here's how it looks visually. Okay, again, I don't make this a training session, but I just want to make you aware. In the clearinghouse, you've got a button called Request Manual Eligibility Exception, okay? So in this case, I've got these prices back from these carriers. Oh man, I know, while that price came back, I know they're not eligible. I'm going to request an eligibility exception from Citizens. When you push that button, a window opens up in the clearinghouse, okay? You can open an email. It's going to stage an email for you. We just need you to cut and paste that quote number in, and then we need you to click that link and open up a form. What does the form do? Here's the form. It looks a little overwhelming, but it's really pretty simple, okay? We know that houses are not going to be eligible based on property condition, which is that first box on the left, premium changes, which is the third box, carrier decline coverage. There's lots of reasons why that carrier won't accept that particular risk. All you need to do is tell us exactly what exists. For example, solar panels, wood burning stove, whatever exists, you click that box, and this form is fillable. You can dynamically do it right in Adobe. Click the X on what condition exists, and then tell us down below what carrier does this apply to, okay? You send this form in on the email plus the proof that the condition exists, whether it's a home condition or a price swing based on credit, for example. Attach that proof, send it in, and we will provide you a link that will allow you to bridge, okay? But Carl, how long does it take? We right now are committed to a one-day turnaround, and one day is too long, okay? But we are doing them in one day. Some perspective, Dave, we're doing about 25,000 deals a week, okay, coming through. 900 overrides are coming in on average. Okay, that's very manageable.
Right.
It's very manageable for us. But if any agent out there that feels that we're not living into that one-day standard, you need to alert me, alert Dave, alert your field. We're very committed to it. We monitor it every day because we know it's so important. If we want to shrink that front end like we've done, we've got to support you on the back end, okay? Because the system isn't perfect, but it is perfect when we do the full circle, particularly with this override piece. So again, we've got lots of training on this. I didn't want to turn this into a training download day, but I wanted to raise the awareness, particularly with a lot of agency owners on the line, on what this process is about. And we're very, very committed to make sure that you get the turnaround on those decisions as quickly as possible. Okay.
Well,
Dave, any questions in the overall?
I'm going to ask you a question, but just on that point, Carl, you know, we've had this discussion for many months as EasyLinks was being rolled out. There was some concern by some about the time element of this. And so I think this process is good. Is it perfect? No, folks, it's not perfect, but it is a way in order for you to be responsive to your clients as they're coming in, either in the office or certainly on the telephone, to get this done in a timely manner. You'll hear things later coming up about other things, but throughout this presentation. But this is certainly something that has been discussed. It seems to be working from what we're hearing. So just keep that in mind.
Yeah.
Can you go back to the previous slide, Carl? Can you go back? There you go. Daisy asked that. While Daisy is looking at that slide, we have a member that asked Carl, why is Quick Quote no longer available in Citizens Policy Center?
Great question. Citizens Quick Quote is available in Policy Center. Okay. The issue that I'm working on, okay, you can still go to Quick Quote in Policy Center and run a quote on a citizen's HO3 or DP or condo, the policy forms that are in EasyLinks. Okay. Quick Quote's still available. The RCE is still available. The issue is the data doesn't transfer to EasyLinks. Okay. But for those of you that feel it's going to be citizens, want to establish a citizen's price, want to present a citizen's price to the consumer, Quick Quote's still available to you, okay, to do that. We haven't taken that down. I'll fast forward, Dave. One of the biggest things we're working on now, though, just a little teaser for everybody, because we've heard you. We're working on getting a Quick Quote like form to render at the end of your EasyLinks experience. Okay. Right now, when you bridge over from EasyLinks into Policy Center, you're basically running almost a full application to get something that, you know, is branded and looks presentable. We're really working on getting maybe a Quick Quote form for those agents that just want to show a Quick Quote without going through that full process. That's an enhancement we're working on right now with Applied. Okay, but Quick Quote, the Quick Quote functionality is still there, but the data doesn't move into EasyLinks, and I think that's
okay.
The concern.
Charles,
yeah.
If that answers your question, let us know. If not, we'll keep going down that path. Regina asked, Carl had a recent mangrove takeout, but has asbestos siding and cloth wiring. Was told they will not accept it. What do we need to do to keep that policy into Citizens, or revert it back?
If that's a Depop question, let me hold that till I get to Depop, Dave.
Okay.
It sounded like she said Depop.
Yep,
but
it is Depop. Yep.
Okay, yeah, hold that thought and I'll get to Depop context.
Okay,
just a
all
moment.
right, Regina,
Okay.
stand by.
Super. Stand by, Regina. Okay, all right, so let me keep going through here. One other piece on the new clearinghouse is this, Dave. I want to make sure everyone's aware of a new feature we added. It's called Pre-Fill Home. One of the comments we got from agents was, why don't we have a full 360 available in EasyLinks? Please put a full 360 in. Well, Dave, I have to tell you, the old clearinghouse made the agents do a 360. And what was the complaint about the old clearinghouse? It took too long.
Too long, exactly.
I don't think anybody happy. Okay, so here's a compromise that we hope people will adopt. We introduced a feature called Pre-Fill Home. All right, I believe I have a picture of the button right here. Where it is, you'll see that represented right there. What is Pre-Fill Home? Pre-Fill Home is in the clearinghouse in EasyLinks. You can pull up a quote, and if you hit Pre-Fill Home, if you hit that button, it goes out to CoreLogic, which is the tool that Citizens uses to establish coverage A. Okay, when you do a full 360 at Citizens, you're using the CoreLogic tool. This is the CoreLogic tool, but it's simplified, it's dumbed down, if you will. But what it does is it brings back an identical coverage A that you would have gotten in a full 360, okay, or in a full RCE for Citizens, right? 80% of the time, Dave, we've analyzed this, 80% of the time on the full cost estimator tool that we provide, the agents don't change the data because the data's solid, okay? Same applies here. If an agent hits Pre-Fill Home, it will establish, it'll pull in these property characteristics. It'll pre-fill these property characteristics in EasyLinks, and they'll pass the Policy Center. But more importantly, it'll establish an identical coverage A. Identical coverage A. Identical. Okay. We have agents adopting this, taking it out for spin. This is voluntary. One of the principles in the new clearinghouse is we didn't want to lock everybody. We want you to have the flexibility to establish that coverage A through any means you want to get a decision, at least initially. When you bridge over, you've got to run that RCE with Citizens. You've got to run it. But that first cost comparison isn't even close to Citizens. We want to give you a lot of flexibility on how to do that, and we've done that. But this tool that that Citizens is paying for. This is at our cost, provided through the clearinghouse. We hope is going to get more widely adopted for those agents that, gee, I want an RCE. Well, you maybe don't need to run a full one if you adopt this button and see where it takes you. And we're getting some pretty good feedback on it, and pretty pleased with our ability to put it on the platform. Again, not training.
Carl, is I was going to ask you, is there some training around this?
We've just run a series of webinars, Dave, on our education website and on our portal. We've just ran a series of webinars on this last week. Okay. Full webinar on how it works, its application. Again, think of this as a teaser, raising awareness, and again, your field manager can give you more information on it. But Prefill Home, if your staff's not using Prefill Home, take it out for a spin. I think you'll be pleased because it will give you an accurate coverage aid, provided that the data is accurate. And a lot of times it may have, it may not be, and that happens. But 80% of the time,
it is.
agents
Okay,
are changing.
cool.
Okay, perfect. Okay. Before I move on to Depop, Dave, any other questions on the clearinghouse or anything else you're getting in the chat or that might be on your mind about the tool?
I think we've answered Leanne's. It's not required at this point, Carl, right? It's optional.
Correct.
She said, Leanne says her challenge has been conflicting options between EasyLink's dwelling info versus Citizens RCE. I think, Leanne, let's get a field manager to call Leanne. We'll give you the information. Make somebody reach out to Leanne Dugan, and let's get her situated on that, because I think it's probably a little bit more than we can discuss here during the show. But right. I think there's some good information that could be shared with Leanne, maybe to better understand that process. All right.
And Dave, particularly for your great members, I'll call this out too. We've got great phone support. We have Applied helping with Clearinghouse, and then we have our own great Citizens team. But oftentimes the agents will just, they'll try that process, generally works, but once in a while you're like, wait a minute. When you feel like, wait a minute, get your field manager engaged, because those guys, that team, can sit down, screen share with you, work with you a little bit to understand, and then they have a direct pipeline to me and my team. Okay, so let's all agree this thing is still new. We're not done with it. We're just getting started, and we so appreciate your feedback. If you're encountering anything that, God, let us know.
Yep. All right, before we move to Depop, and Cassandra asking a question, not appointed with Citizens, but does Clearinghouse only present offers for carriers that the agent is appointed with?
Yes.
Yeah, yes. That's the only things you'll see is those particular carriers that you're currently appointed with.
Correct.
That you'll see on the platform. Okay. All right, Carl, I think we can move on to Depop. Okay.
Super. But a quick comment there before I go on that, Dave. We mentioned that two things we wanted to do with the new platform was shorten that front end process for quicker eligibility decision. The other thing that that's what the agents wanted. What Citizens wanted was more carriers. We wanted more carriers on the clearinghouse. At its peak, the old clearinghouse had 8 carriers on it. We have 21 now. Okay, and more coming. So for Citizens, it's a big win where we can really make sure that there's integrity at the point of sale, and we can bounce those Citizens quotes against a wider panel of carriers that the agent's appointed with. Okay, so want to make that comment that there's reasons we went the direction we did, and we're feeling good, but we have work to do. Okay. Depop, Dave, I'm watching the clock. I want to get through Depop. Quick results, and then we'll get to a few questions. Just want to share with everybody so far, if you look at that assumed column in the center, so far this year, 155,000 policies have been assumed, and that's just through April, where it's going to go a little quiet. We're going to do a June Depop, then it'll get quiet, and then Q3, Q4, we anticipate wide participation in Depop. And I'll say thank you. 155,000 people left because agents had 155,000 conversations with their policyholders. Thank you, agents. Thank you. This doesn't work without an agent. An agent has to counsel these people on what's happening and where they're going. You can't just mail people a letter and hope. So we thank you guys for your help and participation. This is so important to the state of Florida and the market. So more there to come. A lot of you were impacted by that. And then some small commercial numbers, Dave, but we're pleased with the participation in the commercial space as well. And we anticipate that's going to continue as well. But Carl, it all comes back. Carl, we Depop this stuff, but I'm rewriting it all. Here's the stats that we present to our board. We monitor, obviously, any piece of new business that comes in that was prior Depop. We monitor it, and you can see our return rate in the aggregate is less than 2%. Okay, The depops that are more baked, the June, August, October, those are more baked because those customers have reached that actual renewal where they've got an actual premium. You can see those are running in the 5 or 6% rate, but it's not 40, 50, 60, 70% of the business coming back. It's not. Okay. There might be very compelling reasons why these customers needed to come back. But right now we're pleased that it's holding, that customers are getting assumed. They're sticking with that carrier, or perhaps maybe that agent has another market that opened up that's not Citizens. Fine. That's great. If you shop your customers and find value, the better for them, the better for you. Okay, but we want to make sure that agents understood. We rigorously monitor the returns for a lot of different reasons.
Yeah, and again, just a reminder, Carl, what would be the number one reason that somebody came back? Because I know you guys monitor this very closely. We talk about it at all the board meetings. We talk about it at all the committee meetings. What is there a number one reason that potentially that risk has to come back?
Well, I think the general thing that can occur and does occur is that carrier took a little bit of a rate adjustment.
Okay.
From the offered estimate, because remember those renewals are estimates, but carriers can go through approved rate changes, or the policy may have gone through a change. Maybe the customer added a coverage or did something that now changes that dynamic.
Okay.
That's where this program, a reminder, that's when we established this program. The agent can reprice against Citizens and new business, and if eligible, we allow the customer to come back with no photographs, no inspections, no roof search in those cases. So a lot of times, Dave, it's really just about the economic piece, right? And the agent's looking to make sure. And if they're eligible, though, we've built a program, but they have to come back as new business. That's the rule.
All right. I think we're good there.
Okay. I'm watching the clock. There's a lot of resources, Dave, and maybe I'll send you something. I know you blogged on this before, but we have a lot of resources out there to support the customer conversation, including a really great video series that explains to the consumer what Depop's about, why it happens, why was I picked. A lot of agents are leveraging this great approved branded Citizens content to help their customers understand what's happening. I know you guys do a great job of having the conversation, but know that we provided these resources for you. Along with a plethora of information here that I'm going to go through in the interest of time, all available on our website, including, I'm going to go through, Dave, because I want to get to a couple more important things.
Yeah.
These coverage worksheets, everyone's familiar with, but we've actually taken the coverage worksheet concept to another level. What you're seeing here is something we display on the public website, okay? If you're looking to have a deeper conversation with your consumer about Citizens compared to American Integrity, for example, here's a side-by-side that's web-based, much bolder and bigger than the coverage worksheets and much more detailed. We have good adoption on this. We'll make sure that Dave can blog on it. We've communicated on it in our resource guide. But if you're working with a customer or you want to know specifically those coverage differences, this web page does a much better job of detailing that. And we're obviously looking to continue to enhance the worksheet letter in this and try to bring them together. Okay, but I want to make sure agents are aware of this great piece. And again, Citizens doesn't provide a lot of coverages that the traditional HO3 policy does. A reminder here, sell against Citizens. Those Depop customers, if they're going to stay with Citizens, these are the coverages that aren't available. How important are these coverages to your policyholder? If they're important, maybe that Depop offer is worth a few extra dollars, okay? Or if they're getting moved because of 20%, there might be more value in that. And this is another opportunity for you to remind them if these coverages are important, okay? And then we talked about the flood requirement and assessment potential. Again, part of the remarketing effort, trying to stabilize. Why do I have to pay 20% more? Here's why. There's a couple of things. You avoid the flood requirement if you don't need it or don't want it, and then you avoid assessments potential, okay? Dave, I've got a few things on cat response, but before I get to that,
I want to get to that. But let's go back to Regina's question. We have a policy was taken out by Mangrove, but it has asbestos siding and cloth wiring. Was told that, of course, Mangrove would not accept it. What do we need to do to keep it flow back in?
I would like Regina to, I'll answer it in general terms. I'd like Regina to take that agent outreach email and send us the specific policy and the specific case so we can take a hard look at it. Here's the general rule, everybody. The depopulation carriers get our full data file. They get our full data file when they make their selections. If our data file reflects that information, they must stay on the Depop offer, 100%. okay? In certain cases, and that's why I want to get the details from Regina, in certain cases, our data file may not contain certain information, okay? And that's where we have to kind of get into a one-on-one analysis of what happened and what, and then work with the carrier to say, is it appropriate for them to continue it or to take it? I want to be clear on what Regina's trying to accomplish. Does she want to stay with Citizens, or does she want to go to Mangrove? That's why I want to work with her individually. But generally, if agents out there are feeling that the carrier made an assumption offer, and then all of a sudden you're getting news from the carrier that, wait a minute, after the fact, after the assumption, just get your agency manager involved in that, please, okay? Because we still continue to work with the depop companies. There's rules that govern that. We want everyone to stay inside the lines so we have some consistency. And if any agent out there feels like something strange has happened, contact us, please. Let us get involved. Okay?
Carl, what's that email address?
Say again, Dave?
What was that email address?
Agent.outreach. It's at the bottom of this page. Agent.outreach.
Right there, Regina. See it? Agent.outreach@citizensfla.com. So it's very bottom of the page that's showing on the screen right now. You know, Mark brings up a point. I think you've already addressed it. There are some anomalies once the formalized quote comes from the carrier that it's going to be greater than 20%. So that's that is something you guys are monitoring it very closely in that regard. David just asked, we have a policy taken out by American Integrity, includes a roof schedule. American Integrity does not offer replacement on roof. The lender will not accept this. Is this a valid reason to go back to Citizens, even if the rate is not 20% or better?
Yeah, at this point, Dave, if the form for the depop has been approved, then the form governs the decision. Okay, so we still would consider that to be a valid offer. I'm very interested in more follow-up on that, particularly any information you've gotten from lenders specifically on that. But right now, there's no automatic path back if that condition exists.
Yeah. Mike asked a question about comparable coverage, so we'll get with Mike on that. David is kind of the same thing. Trust us, we have had long-standing discussions with Citizens, with the OIR about comparable coverage, what it should include, what it shouldn't include. Those conversations, unfortunately, continue. But as Carl said, once the approval of the OIR is for the takeout, that is what is acceptable, and they will stand behind that unless there's been changes to what we all deem as comparable coverage. So, Mike, David, hear you loud and clear. This is something that we continue to have discussions in and around. So,
okay. David,
right. Tell us how you guys prepare.
Well, here's how we prepare. First thing we're doing is employee, agent, and policyholder communication. Pre-storm, you guys will see our normal pre-storm bulletin that has all the tips and tricks for agents to prep, policy storage, print your lists, all the types of things that we're traditionally ready for. We're getting ready to kick off that campaign, so we're ready to respond. When pre-storm communication, though, something's coming up the Gulf of Mexico, you can expect us at Citizens to start pushing social media, pushing things on our website, also alerting customers to the ability through our email platform on what to do and how to file claims. The main thing we're attempting to do there is make sure the customer is connected to get that claim filed. We want to make sure that they have direct access to get into Citizens should they have a need to file that claim post-storm. Okay. Again, we're leveraging a lot of the awareness with different social media, but we also have the direct way with customers to market to them directly from Citizens on tips and tricks in that as well. Obviously, we're prepared, Dave, to respond. I think when the storm does make landfall in certain areas, you've seen Citizens step up to really assist those policyholders we mutually serve with our catastrophe response centers. We're also very, very well established in order to take claim intake. We have a vendor model that's second to none that allows us to take thousands of claims when those storms hit by scaling up our vendor models as well. So we feel like we've done this before. We've executed on it. We've gotten great feedback. I think every agent out there should feel very good about the Citizens policyholder and our ability to respond to their needs, and also to make sure that that your image is protected in terms of our response. We know how important that is, and we're really, really prepared to make sure that that we continue to execute like we have in prior storms. Okay. That would be it. What I have on task response.
Yeah. So folks, again, thank Carl Rockman. Great job as normal. A lot of information. I know we went through a few slides quicker than we normally do, but we wanted to make sure we got the latest information to you all to understand some of the changes that are upcoming, some of the nuances that agents need to deal with when they want to transition a policy back into Citizens. Rosemarie, we'll get with you offline on this latest question. But long story short, just keep in mind, hurricane preparedness, dust off your manuals, make sure your information is getting up to date, for contact for carriers, for vendors, for resources like Citizens and other carriers that you do business with. So with that in mind, thanks again, Carl, for being part of Friday Morning Live. Appreciate everybody's attendance today. We'll see you guys next week with our E&O team on Friday Morning Live. Have a great weekend, and we'll see you next time.